Babe, let's go. High energy, babe. Need you. I need you, babe. Come on, babe. Jules!
That's quite the impression of Tom Brady from his teammate Julian Edelman. Well, Jules tells us how many times he's watched the Super Bowl and why the Patriots are gonna miss Gronk off the field. Plus, Kyler Murray chose the NFL over baseball, but he made his return to the diamond last night. See his first pitch and how baseball skills translate to the NFL for a couple of the star quarterbacks in the league. Finally, quarterback roulette. We are back, guys. Would you keep your quarterback under their current contract, or are you spinning on them? The guys tackle the NFC and AFC South today. Here we go. Well, welcome into NFL Live, everybody. This is the champ desk. You cannot sit at this desk unless you've won something big, like, I don't know, let's say a Super Bowl. Jeff Saturday, Victor Cruz, I'm Diana Rossini. No rings for me. So the only thing we're actually missing today is a quarterback. So what we're going to do is we're just going to talk about all the quarterbacks behind their back today in the league. So let's start in Washington, where the Redskins, they've got an open competition for the starting job, right? We know they got Case Keenum, they got Colt McCoy, and of course their top draft pick, Dwayne Haskins, the rookie, been getting tons of praise for his play. But will he get that starting job come week one? Jay Gruden says he's happy with what he's seen from his rookie, but will he actually get the gig? Well, Redskins great Joe Theismann, he's got his thoughts on the situation.
The young man's played 13 football games. What in that whole entire description makes any sense or convinces you that he should play? But I think the young man is our future, and let's protect the future instead of throwing it out there right now and saying, okay, go get him. It's just a formula for disaster for the team, for Jay, for the fans, everybody else.
All right, Joe, wanting to practice some patience, but how about the guy who's actually in the front office there? That's Redskins Senior VP of Player Personnel, Doug Williams. Well, he told the NFL Network this. He might end up starting. That could happen. I don't want to say he's going to start game one today, but it's been enjoyable to see what Dwayne Haskins has done. Now, even if Williams had his way, history says that Haskins will start sooner rather than later. It's pretty clear there. You see, 21 quarterbacks have gone round one since 2012. 15 of them have started at least 10 games, while 9 have started in week one. So the last first-round quarterback who actually didn't play as a rookie, guys, we got to go back to 2011. And that was Jake Locker when he was with the Titans. So the Redskins, they got a situation there. So, Jeff, let's start with you. How do you think they play this?
Listen, Jay Gruden has talked about how good Dwayne Haskins has looked, but one of the little sidebars that he has said, he said when he's good, he's really good, but when he's bad, it's almost weird how bad he is. I think for Jay Gruden, he wants to make that position a position of consistency, right? At some point, he has to show that he's not going to make the error that's going to cost you to lose. That being said, you draft this kid where you draft him. And Joe Theismann made the point, he's only played 13 games. Well, guess what? You don't learn a ton watching football. I mean, at some point, you got to go play it. So in my opinion, if he's the guy that you feel like is going to be your franchise and going to be your future, you got to roll with him and let's see how it plays out.
It seems that Theismann's saying, you got to practice the patience, so you got to make sure he's ready, prepared. Doug Williams stating, we're to practice that patience. What do you make of the situation? You think they got to roll with the rookie?
I think they got to take their time. I think they have to understand and look at what they see on the practice field, right? See if they see those consistencies. See if the good outweighs the bad in terms of their own football team, because you don't want to put this guy out there, especially with the first five games of the season. It's no easy task. And you don't want to get him out there early and then get his psyche messed up and get him to retract and not have that confidence. Let's say they lose to the Eagles and Cowboys. They go 0-3 in the first 3 weeks. How's he going to feel? How's he going to come back from that? Does he have the type of personality and confidence and wherewithal to come back and dig out of that hole just from a mental perspective, not even physically, because mentally that takes a toll on you as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Starting the season 0-3 against some tough opponents, that could definitely set you back. So the Redskins have to be careful how they treat this.
You play with Eli Manning, but you play with Peyton Manning, and in his first year, he went 3-13, obviously turned it around. In terms of that transition for him mentally, what was that like from him from your perspective?
Yeah, let me say this about quarterbacks. So we talk about this all the time, the psyche of the quarterback, right? So you showed up there, the 5 teams they have to play in the first 5 weeks. Tough competition, I get it. Really good defenses, I get it. So Case Keenum is going to give you a better chance to win. If you win if you go 3-2 or 2-3, What does that do for your franchise? Your quarterback is still watching. If he's not mentally tough enough to lose games in the NFL and continue getting better, you drafted the wrong guy anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about Dwayne Haskins, man, it's time to go. Like, you got drafted at this point. You know you're our future. You know you're our franchise. Let's go win. The expectations have to be realistic. You have to understand what you're going to get. You're playing really good defenses, whether it's the Eagles, the Cowboys, in division. You understand what all that looks like. You know he's not going to be, the shining star. Every single decision is not going to be the right decision, but he's still going to be learning on the fly. In my opinion, if he's not mentally tough enough to go 0-5 and then rebound, then you got the wrong guy anyway. Like, understand what your role is on this football team. We have a projection for you over the next couple years. Peyton Manning went 3-13. The next year they're 13-3. That's a big swing, right? And that's what you wanted. That kicked off his career. He threw, I think he led the league. He still may have the record for interceptions from a quarterback from Peyton Manning. Big deal. Hall of Fame quarterback, Super Bowl champion, all the things that you want. But he played. And in my opinion, you play the guys that you think are your franchise. That's why you draft them where they are, because they are your future. Yeah. Let's let them go play.
The one thing about Haskins, too, after the draft is he's playing with a chip on his shoulder.
Absolutely.
Like, he understands he slipped down, at least in his own mind. He slipped down a couple notches on that draft board, and he wants to prove those doubters wrong. And he's playing with that chip on his shoulder, and you can't ever negate or go against a guy with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, and think about the draft. Before Kyler Murray decided baseball and football, people talked about Haskins being the number one
100%,
pick.
Absolutely.
And if he's your number one pick, he went middle of the first round or 15, whatever. If he was talking about being the number one quarterback taken, you're telling me the first 5 games scare you? I mean, look, man, that and in my opinion, that's not. That's a silly argument. I mean, if you think he's going to get hurt, but they have a very good offensive line, they can run the football, they can protect him in a football game, they understand what's needed. Let the kid develop and go get it. If, and I say this with a big if, and Victor and I both said this, on the practice field, he's showing that.
Yes.
I would not tell you if he's a disaster on the practice field and he's up and down and you never know where it's going to be. I get that. Then you go with Case Keenum. But if he's a kid who's showing you, hey, man, I got this, I know the plays, I know how to put us in there, I'm going to ride with it.
Definitely a tough first month, though, if he's going to get out there.
But, guys, there's a second layer to this, too. Does head coach Jay Gruden even have a choice in this in terms of who he's got to play? Because we all know that Dan Snyder wanted to go with Haskins. So we can all say there's going to be a competition, but when it comes down to making that decision, will Jay Gruden be pressured to play their draft pick? But we'll see. Meantime, the draft pick, well, it's pretty clear that he's the starter, right? And Kyler Murray, the number one pick, and you're talking about getting that experience and being comfortable. If there's a marriage that's supposed to work based on those requirements, this is the one. This is the offense he should feel comfortable with. But, of course, you have a first-year head coach in Cliff Kingsbury. So now the question here is their actual advantage for Kyler Murray in terms of understanding this Kingsbury offense. Does he have the best advantage of all these rookie quarterbacks because he's comfortable in this?
Absolutely. Kingsbury knew, and the Arizona Cardinals, Steve, they understood if you're going to run this offense and you're going to convert this football team to the air raid spread, whatever everybody's going to call it, whatever the idea is at this point, you have to have a guy who understands that. And so putting Kyler Murray, who has shown you at Oklahoma what he can do, he is a true dual threat. The guy's got a great arm, throws from the pocket, outside the pocket, can beat you with his legs. He can do all of those things. He is the absolute must choice where that is. However, he is a small human being. We haven't seen what this offense will look like in the NFL. I think it's much more pressure on Kingsbury, in my opinion, than it is Kyler Murray. We understand Kyler Murray can go make plays, but will the RPOs work? Will the run game work with the offensive line they have? There's a lot of questions for me from an offensive philosophy as opposed to just Kyler Murray.
It's probably the first time he's been called a small human being, too. That was
yeah, listen, he is. And there's some grown men on the other side who are really fast.
And they're coming to take his head off.
They're coming to get you. Sure. That's exactly right.
But I do think he has an advantage. Obviously, anytime you come in, especially at the quarterback position, when you come in and you understand the philosophies of this offense, you understand what's being asked of you, and you understand the plays, and you understand the terminology, now you're operating ahead of the curve, if you will. You're teaching others as a rookie. You're getting others on your bandwagon, teaching guys, which in turn lets you be a leader easily. You kind of flow right into that leadership role because you're teaching everyone naturally because you know the offense and you're rallying everybody around you.
Yeah.
And that helps, obviously, as a rookie quarterback. #1 pick, all of that good stuff, you need to feel that sense of, okay, this is my team. I understand this offense. I'm able to teach it freely to these younger guys that I got to have with me and get them together if I want to be successful.
That's really a great point, because you and I both know he knows the offense. Receivers, Larry Fitzgerald, these guys don't know the offense nearly as well as he's going to know it. So him being able to describe, and Victor knows better than I, those quarterbacks are going to tell you, hey, this is exactly where I want you on this call. I want you inside here. I want you 3 yards and then bend, and then I want you to get vertical. All those conversations that he'll be having with the receivers, tight ends, backs when they're swinging out of the backfield, all of the timing that comes will be based on Kyler Murray saying, hey, here's what I want.
Exactly.
And I think that, to Victor's point, that does give you an automatic leadership role, and guys buy in because you've taken ownership. It's not just the head coach saying it's the youngest guy on the team or the #1 pick in the draft saying all this. I think that stuff builds in pretty well.
Okay, you're saying this, but that's a lot of pressure to put on a young guy, a rookie. He doesn't have the luxury of, say, an Eli Manning in front of him like we see in New York, which brings us, let's talk Daniel Jones here. And with this situation, the pressure is on in New York, and reports have said that Eli's doing a great job mentoring. He's not exactly doing what we saw Joe Flacco do with Lamar Jackson. He's coaching this kid up, knowing that, you know what, he could be the future here. So, in terms of when we're actually going to see Daniel Jones, Victor, when do you think the Giants will make that call?
Well, it's interesting because I believe that in the first month of the season is going to tell you everything you need to know about how the Giants feel about Eli and as well as Daniel Jones. If they go 0-4 or they go 1-3 in this first month of the season, I do believe we're going to see Daniel Jones lace him up and be out there on that football field. I just know the way everything that's culminated around the Giants this year, Gettleman obviously being called out for this pick, of course. I think he wants to prove, if the opportunity presents itself, he wants to prove that this pick that front office made this pick, and it's the right pick for them, and it's the right fit for them, and it's something that they want to prove earlier rather than later. But it all depends on how good Eli Manning plays in the first month of the season and what that overall record is. And look, I've gotten reports from Saquon and things like that they love Daniel Jones. They love what they see. They understand why this guy was picked with that pick from the Giants in the first round. They obviously love Eli. They know everything he brings to the table, Hall of Famer, all of that good stuff. But in terms of just watching Daniel Jones and understanding why he was brought here, I think Saquon, and as well as that offense, is buying into Daniel Jones as well.
You're supposed to say sources tell me. You're not supposed to call your source.
My guy Saquon, man.
A little reporter tip for you.
Good.
Are you in agreement? Do you think it's going to come sooner? Because I believe that New York market, after game 1, Eli throws 1 interception, they're going to be going crazy calling for Daniel Jones.
Here's my thing. I think Eli Manning will give them a half a season at minimum before they'll decide to make the change. And I think once they know they're out of playoff contention, then potentially they bring in Daniel Jones to kind of try to bring him along. I think Eli Manning is an icon in New York. Bottom line, the guy has done it. He's done it forever. Super Bowl champion, you name it. He has produced for this football team. And I think from a fan perspective, I think people get upset, but I don't think they want to see a full-scale change unless they know, hey, this is a time for him to ride out. I think it's harder than people think to move on from Eli Manning. And honestly, they could get on a little, on a little streak, and all of a sudden, everybody's going to forget about Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley, listen, that kid played lights out. If other people around that football team step up and make some plays, it's a team that potentially could make a little noise. Why make a move from Eli if that's the case?
They don't need to. Exactly. Meantime, the Giants have never started a rookie quarterback in their season opener, so I don't think we really expect Jones. Eli's the starter there. All right, guys, just warming up here. Still to come, we talk AFC East. Can the Jets go from worst to first, or are the Patriots too much of a lock for the title? And stick around, speaking of the Patriots, Julian Edelman joins the show to tell us how many times he's watched his Super Bowl performance. Plus, whose impression will he do next? So, for example, right, the Texans in the AFC South and the Bears in the NFC North, they're able to accomplish worst to first in 2018. So, let's go to the AFC East, right? They've not seen a lot of worst to first flips the past 2 decades. Obviously, we know why, because, the good old New England Patriots, they're in that division. Meanwhile, the other 3 teams, they've all had losing records. So, let's start with the biggest loser last year, the New York Jets. Well, They gave Le'Veon Bell the long-term deal he desired this offseason. They've also made C.J. Mosley the highest paid linebacker in the game. And they've, of course, got that new head coach / GM tandem. Got Adam Gase, Joe Douglas at the helm calling the shots in New York. So certainly a different-looking New York Jets team. So here we go. They finished in last place. If they want to finish in first place, Victor, what do you think needs to happen to the New York Jets?
Well, they got to find some playmakers outside of Le'Veon Bell. Obviously, Sam Darnold coming into his second year. They got to find some guys to get the ball to. I know Robbie Anderson had a phenomenal year last year, but they need more weapons. Obviously, they're going to key on Le'Veon Bell and understand that he's going to be the focal point of that offense, but they have to have some more weapons come to fruition in order for Sam Darnold to be a high-powered offense and get the ball out and score a bunch of points. But my percentage for them to go from worst to first is... What I got here?
Hit the little thing.
Yeah, pallet.
Pallet. Underneath that. And then I'm going to go...
Nice.
Just keep an eye on your math. It gets a little dicey.
Percent.
There you go.
I'm going with 10... Oh.
That's all right. We saw 10%.
10%.
So you're giving the Jets a 10% chance to go in first place.
Exactly.
And so there's nothing about this defense that scares you at all?
I like C.J. Mosley, obviously, but I just think this defense is going to put the offense in good positions, but I just don't believe in that entire offense from a weapons perspective that they can make the jump.
I can tell you how the Jets go worst to first.
Go ahead.
Patriots don't play.
Oh, stop. It's the oldest joke in
It's the best joke, Diana.
You're the guy at a wedding with an open bar who says, drinks on me.
I'm a dad and I'm an O-lineman. We always tell the best jokes. Everybody hates, but we have the best jokes. No, 10%, I'm with Victor on this. New head coach, new general man, a lot of change going on. Sam Darnold, obviously, he played pretty well his first year. He's got coming in second. Le'Veon Bell is going to help them. I'm with you, though. Not enough. I don't know that they can score enough points. I definitely don't give them, a chance in the division, but I think they'll be a better football team.
Well, Super Bowl MVP Julian Edelman, who will be joining the show in just a few minutes, he gave an interview earlier today to the New York Post, and he said he thinks the Jets are equipped to actually challenge them this year. He said it's Adam Gase who's got the blueprint to how to beat the Patriots, because, of course, they won last year. He says that's a little scary.
Wow, he's giving up some intel.
Well, you know what they do. They play up the enemy. They play up the enemy.
Bill called him before he knew he was going to be on TV. What to say.
Sing the praises of the Jets, All right, meantime, we got the Buffalo Bills. What did they do? Well, they did pretty well in the draft, right? So they picked their defense. Initially, they're the Houston defensive tackle will look to fill the shoes of the recently retired Kyle Williams, because we know he went off. Meantime, in free agency, the Bills were all about helping Josh Allen. That is the story of Buffalo. They signed a pair of wideouts and 6 offensive linemen, including former Chiefs center Mitch Morse. So here we go. Buffalo with Josh Allen under center. What's the percentage chance that they finish in first place this year?
All right, the percentage chance that I have is 20. And I know Jeff's giving me the because that feels like a lot. But I like Josh Allen. I like his toughness. I like what he brought to the table last year. I think he adds an element of toughness that the Bills need. I feel like it's part of that culture in Buffalo. And he's got some receivers now to get the ball out to. So I expect more from this Buffalo Bills team. Now, will they compete will they go from worst to first in this division? I don't think so. But will they be better than the years before? I think they do. I think they make a jump.
Here's the scariest part for me. I'm giving them a 10% chance. And here's what I'm saying about this. Josh Allen, people either love him or hate him. He's one of those guys, he polarizes the thing. In my opinion, most of his highlights his first year were off run game. So if I'm looking at this, they tried to help him offensive line-wise, but I think they signed 17 players. Not sure a ton of them really move, really jump out. Yeah, hey, this is going to really improve this football team. Ed Oliver is going to be a heck of a football player. I think he's a great pickup in the draft. I just don't know that they have enough together, so that's why I kept them at 10%, a chance to go and win this division.
All right, how about the Miami Dolphins, right? We know they have a new head coach in Brian Flores, so we know he's got a little bit of that playbook of what the New England Patriots do so well. They'll look to turn around last season's 27th ranked scoring defense. And Miami, of course, they also moved on from Ryan Tannehill after 6 seasons, bringing Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen aboard to compete at quarterback. So we saw those reports from minicamp, and it looked just like Ryan Fitz right now is a little bit ahead of where Josh Rosen is. But that being said, we'll see what happens come week 1 and who will be the starter. So percentage chance, Victor, that the Dolphins can dethrone the New England Patriots here and win the division?
Well, I feel like the Dolphins are in a little bit in flux, right? They're moving some pieces around. Obviously, some changes to the front office. Obviously, Fitzpatrick. Shout out to Ryan Fitzpatrick, who just keeps
on going.
Yeah, he just keeps on going. But percentage-wise, I'm going with a strong 10% here for the Dolphins. I think they're still in flux. I think they're still learning what they have on their team, and I think they got 10. They're in a division with the Patriots. It's just not going to happen.
Right. I'm going to go 5% here. I will say this. Last year, they're a 7-9 football team. You talked about their defense. Defense was bad. Offensively, they had a coach that could score points. Now we have Flores, who's a defensive-minded coach. They're going to try to improve the defense. You got Fitzpatrick and Rosen at quarterback. Just not doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies. This first year is going to be one that you just jump out the gate and score a bunch of points. That's the only way they won last year. I just don't see it happening.
All right, so then finally, the team that we've been talking about pretty much this entire segment. It is the defending champs. They'll need to reload, though, something they've done a time or 10 in the past. Future Hall of Famer Rob Gronkowski, of course, he retired. Trey Flowers, Trent Brown, they left for much greener pastures in free agency. And Bill Belichick drafted a wide receiver in the first round for the first time with the Patriots. So they try to plug some holes there, just got to figure out some things. But Victor, here we go. Very clearly.
We only got 60% left here. Look, I mean, obviously the defending champions, they lose arguably the best tight end in all of football, but they've lost people in the past and still kept on rolling as if nothing has ever happened. So the Patriots are always going to be, as long as Tom Brady's the quarterback of this team, they'll always be a top picks in this division in the AFC East.
Yeah.
Tom Brady deteriorating.
I'm going 75%. Here's what I'm saying to this. And Victor just said it best. Whether it's Gronk, Edelman was suspended. I mean, guys are always gone. The biggest issue for the Patriots is replacing Trey Flowers. Can they do that? They don't have a ton of defensive guys who get after the quarterback, but somehow Bill Belichick finds a way to pressure quarterbacks and shut people down. This team is a chameleon. Whatever they got to do, they'll do. That's why they keep winning it.
Now we're talking Patriots. Let's hear more from Julian Edelman.
I'm Julian Edelman, and I'm going to tell you and everyone about everything that happened at this year's Super Bowl party. Be there or be square.
Dig deep, boys. Brady empties it out. Pumps once, now fires underneath. Caught by Edelman, 15. Muscles towards the pylon, and he is in for the touchdown. Let's go! Let's go! Motion to the left by Edelman, makes the catch on the screen, and then he barrels his way forward, plowing inside the 5 and into the end zone. Touchdown, Patriots!
That was a big-time play, Jules. Championship play. Go out and make some plays and be with the fellas.
All right, well, it's the squirrel himself, Super Bowl MVP Julian Edelman, who has a documentary. Airs Friday, 9 o'clock Eastern. It's called 100%. It airs on Showtime. Congratulations on that. And, Jules, when you think about a Patriot, you definitely don't think all access, unless you're thinking maybe Tom Brady and his Facebook special there. But what do you want fans to learn about you on Friday night?
I think I want them to learn, what goes on in an athlete's life when he's going through times of adversity or anything at the place away from work. How he's thinking, how he's leaning on people, those kind of life issues. It's not necessarily a sports doc. I call it a life doc. So something like that where you can gravitate and you could pull away from hey, yeah, these guys play football on Sunday, but they also have to deal with balancing life and with their family and dealing with things that are away from the field or away from their job, and it kind of gives you an inside look on that.
Yeah, you certainly learned so much about you personally, not just as a man, but as a football player, and then you get to learn a little bit about your relationships. And the one that stood out, and it's on full display, it's the relationship you have with your dad. You went over 80 days not talking to him because of your PED suspension. Why'd you avoid him?
We just had a different stance on certain things with the handling process of what was going on, and it was time that we both probably needed away from each other to learn. Honestly, I called him and I told him, I was sorry for not involving him, and basically told him that I feel better when he's in my corner and when we're talking. because he's part of that shoulder that I've always leaned on. And you know, things happen in life, and you know that's one of those things that we showed in this film.
I want to talk some football with you. How many times have you watched this Super Bowl game against the Rams? How many times have you checked that out?
I haven't really watched it at all, honestly. I watched the cut-ups afterwards, and then kind of just been going and turning the page, like Bob Seger said. You know, you got to turn that page.
You're telling me you don't sit back in your couch and you catch it on one of the networks and just take it in again?
I tell my dad actually to turn it off when I go home. It's because, you know, that I've lived it, and you still got a lot of meat on the bone, and you still have other things you want to do, and you're already thinking about that next year. And you know, and you also have little events and stuff here and there where you had the ring ceremony. They always have fun stuff there about the game and the year, and that's kind of when you relive it. So other than that, you're just looking at film or looking at stuff that can help you for the next year.
Well, you mentioned that ring ceremony, the party at Mr. Kraft's house. We all saw it on social. You guys only shared just like 3 to 4 seconds, and I know you're not going to share too much with me, but if you can imagine the best image from that night, and maybe I'm a fly on the wall and I'm seeing it, like sort of paint a picture of that best moment of that night.
I would say it's probably like the beginning part when you see guys that have gone different places, or when we all get together, like when we have a little cocktail hour, and it's kind of like the last moment that 2018 team gets to share with each other. Because you know, every year in the NFL you got turnover on teams. You got coaches that leave, you have players that leave, and for that special day, everyone comes back for that last time, and you get to share just a fun memory and something that you always cherish for the rest of your life.
We know how much you guys are going to miss Rob Gronkowski out on the field. You know him really well off the field. What's something about Gronk that you're actually going to miss without him being with you guys on the Patriots?
You're obviously going to miss him on the field. He's one of the most dynamic players at his position to ever play the game. You know, I've been telling people you're going to miss more times where you're going to walk into the facility and see Gronk half naked, waving like, "What's up, Jules? How you doing?" Like, those are the times you're gonna miss of the big fella. He was just a big ball of joy. He had fun, and you know, sometimes you forget those things when you get caught up with the season. And Gronk was the type of guy that would always let you know he was having fun.
Jules, I wasn't going to go here, but you opened the door for me. Your impressions they're all the rage. I've been seeing it all over social media. I didn't realize how good you are at them. So
I honestly think I'm terrible.
I'm kind of impressed, and I'm a really tough judge of what's funny. So I need you to kind of put those shoulders back right now. Take a deep breath. I'm going to say a player, and I just want you to become that person. So I'm going to start you off real easy here. Coach Belichick.
You know, like, we're not on the program of making impressions here. Like, that's not what we're trying to accomplish.
Tom Brady.
Need you. I need you, babe. Come on, babe. Jules!
Josh McDaniels, when you almost perhaps cost him the game against the Chiefs.
Gosh darn it!
That's simple. All right, finally, we got to finish with Gronk. I know you did a little bit there. Give me just Gronk after a win, and it's just you guys, no media, no one's there. Go.
I don't know. Chest bump. Beast mode. That's all. It's hard. You can't mimic the Gronk.
It sounds like you're doing something pretty great on Showtime Friday night. Check out the documentary, 100%. Jules, good luck to you. Good luck to you as you go for another Super Bowl, you and Tom Brady, this upcoming season. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Ahead on NFL Live, does Victor Cruz, he's such a fashion snob. All right, so in 15 of the last 16 seasons, guys, at least one last place team has flipped the narrative and actually finished at the top of their division. So last year, the Texans and Bears, they were able to go from the outhouse to the penthouse and win their respective divisions. So how about the NFC East? Well, lots of turnover there in this division year to year. The Cowboys won it last year. However, no team has actually repeated as NFC East champs since 2004. That's when Philly did it. That means a new champ, guys, each of the last 14 seasons. So it is always a toss-up. Well, the Giants, well, they're among the teams hoping to make it 15 in a row. They moved on from Odell Beckham Jr., of course. They traded the All-Pro wideout to Cleveland for a first-rounder. And Golden Tate, he's the new receiver there. He arrived as a slot receiver to pair with Sterling Shepard. And with Eli entering the last year of his deal, GM Dave Gettleman, he took Duke's Daniel Jones, 6th overall, who's been getting rave reviews coming out of camp back in May. So, Victor, I want to begin with you since this is your former team. What actually gets the New York Giants from worst to first?
Well, I think what gets them from worst to first is a lot of Saquon Barkley, right? Getting him the ball in space, getting him the ball between the tackles, splitting him out, putting him everywhere so defenses can't get a beat on him. But the other question mark is, what's everybody else doing? We know what Sterling Shepard can do. Obviously, they've added Golden Tate. Evan Ingram's kind of been injured on and off. So he's got to come out and be that X factor that they want him to be. But for me, I got them at a solid 20%.
Wow.
Solid 20. They
You're
still
not worried
got
about that defense?
Hey, he must live in New York. Throwing that 20% on there, my word. He just said, in an earlier segment, he said Daniel Jones will be a starting quarterback in 4 weeks.
If they go on
And things are not going well if Daniel Jones is going in.
20%.
That's an old.
We're going
go
10%. We got a flip-flopper already. It's been this quick, my word. Listen, let's be real. You got one guy to stop on that offense, Saquon Barkley. Everybody, any defense coordinator knowing what's going to happen, I don't think they've added anything to let go of OBJ, Vernon.
Packing in that box leaves a lot of one-on-ones outside.
Hey,
somebody's got
to make it happen.
Well, the Washington Redskins, guys, they also took a quarterback in the first round. We talked about him earlier in the show. Ohio State's Dwayne Haskins fell to Washington at 15. He'll compete with Case Keenum and Colt McCoy for the starting job this summer, right? Washington didn't really do a lot in free agency with that one big exception. One of the first signings during free agency, that was with Landon Collins. They took him away from the New York Giants and made him the highest paid safety in the league. That was quite the day for Collins there in Washington. So let's begin, guys. What is the percentage chance, Jeff, I want to start with you this time, that the Washington Redskins can win this division?
I'm going 15%. Not a very good chance. I do love the Landon Collins pickup. In division pickup, that's always huge. You're making your opponent worse. You're getting better. I think that's a good move by them. It's all going to depend on the Haskins, Keenum, McCoy. How does this thing all transpire? What does it look like? But let's be honest. They have some pieces around. The offensive line is actually pretty good. Can run the football. Jay Gruden knows how to get the ball out of QB's hands. So, you know, if lightning struck, I'm giving them a 15% chance.
And it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on the Trent Williams situation, whether or not he's going to come back.
Exactly.
That's something we're going to have to address. Victor, what are you giving them?
I agree with you, Jeff. I'm right there with you. A couple percentage points below at 10. I think they got some question marks, right? Obviously, the quarterback situation is a huge question mark for them. Who's going to be the guy to lead that offense? But I think defensively, they got some good things, especially that front four. Them guys can get after the quarterback. So I think they'll get some wins on that, but enough to be the tops and go from worst to first, I don't think so.
All right, so we got the Eagles and Cowboys left here, and we got to fill out to 100 somehow, so I have a feeling where you guys are going with this. Let's talk some Philly here, right? They went all in on Carson Wentz this offseason, giving him the most guaranteed money in NFL history. Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles, he cashed in. He went to Jacksonville, so that safety net is gone for the Eagles. And they also added Jordan Howard and Malik Jackson while trading up for Andre Dillard as their left tackle of the future. So here we go with assuming that Carson Wentz is 100% healthy, ready to go.
Let her
Saturday, what do you got?
He's like,
I'm going 40%. You said it earlier. No team has won this thing back-to-back. I like the Cowboys and the Eagles, but I like the Eagles here. I like their pickups. Malik Jackson, Jordan Howard's going to help their football team. Deshaun Jackson as well. They have some pieces and parts. Carson Wentz playing all 16 games and becoming the quarterback that everybody expects him to be in the playoffs, not just regular season. Can he get through that thing? That's going to be the key to the Eagles season, but I expect some big things out of these guys.
I'm with you on that, too. I'm going 30% here. I think they got all the tools, right? Carson Wentz just signed that big contract. He's re-energized. He's ready to play some football again. He's got some weapons. Deshaun Jackson, I know he's loving him. I mean, whenever you get a guy that can take the top off and keep everybody honest, you love a wide receiver like that, especially for a quarterback like Carson Wentz who likes to sling it. Jordan Howard in the backfield gives them kind of a well-rounded, balanced attack. So I think the Eagles are primed for another year just like last year.
Yeah, of course, their other big loss, though, Chris Long retired.
Exactly.
A team leader there, so they haven't replaced him. So, all right, how about the Dallas Cowboys? They worked around the edges this offseason. They swapped slot receivers with Cole Beasley going out and getting Randall Cobb. How about Dak Prescott, though? He also got his old friend back. Jason Witten ended his one-year retirement, went back to playing ball, and it flew right under the radar. But how about Kellen Moore? He's going to be their new offensive coordinator just 4 years after his NFL career ended. So changes on that offensive call there for the Dallas Cowboys. So here we are. Saturday, what do you got? Percentage chance that the Dallas Cowboys are going to win this division.
I like the Cowboys. Again, I told you the reason I went Eagles over Cowboys is because it seems like everybody flip-flops. I think they're a playoff team, no doubt. Defensively, they're going to continue to get better. I mean, their linebacking core with Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch, Sean Lee, when he can stay healthy, they're solid. Marinelli does a great job of keeping them in. Everybody used to think that was going to be a weakness. That's really has been their strength. Can their offense produce, right? We talk about Dak, we talk about Zeke, we talk about Amari Cooper. Can they get enough points? That's the Kellen Moore situation. Can he get these guys all thriving? Because ultimately, they put up a bunch of points. That defense will lock you down, and they'll pin their ears back and get a lot of pressure on the QBs.
Yeah.
I think they have a good shot.
Well, there you go.
I'm going 40 for the Cowboys here. I think they're loaded. I think offensively, you got Dak Prescott, you got obviously Cooper, and you got Ezekiel Elliott. All these guys understand what it takes to win. They've been there. They know how to get back there. Now, the pressure's on Dak, right? Can he rally the guys? Can he make all the throws? Can he score the points? Can he do it with his legs? That's where the pressure's on, is on Dak Prescott. But also defensively, these guys are run stoppers.
Yes, they are.
They can do things in the secondary. They are literally loaded at every position.
All right, so obviously a little disagreement